Getting much cooler? My 600-pound life. Have you heard of it? Hotshot 500, food choices, and dealing with your emotions, and the difference of water supplies. Did you even know? Tuesday, September 20th, 2022. I'm Steven Sersky. Thanks for joining me. This here is my daily audio yik yak audio digest. I publish this Monday to Friday, and I post the show notes up on my website, stevensersky.com. Also available through the normal channels, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, and not just Amazon just yet, but we will get there for sure. So living here in Beijing, getting a little bit cooler, especially in the morning. Afternoons aren't so bad. The sun still sort of beats down quite a bit at that time, but morning, I even wore pants this morning. That's how cool it was. I guess if I was going for a run, I wouldn't have, but since today was an off day, I figured, well, let's stay warm and keep the muscles nice and warm and everything. So long sleeve shirts now and pants to go outside in the morning. Tomorrow, we'll still probably be able to wear the shorts. You'll probably be able to wear shorts for the next month or so, just because if you're outside walking around, working up moving around, if you're not just sitting around, if you're sitting around, it'll be a bit more cool. But if you are moving around, like walking, especially later on in the morning, it's not so bad. But yeah, noticeable difference. A great relief from the heat and the humidity from last month. But it's sort of an indication of where the weather and where the temperature and what season we're heading into, basically. What are you going to do? Maybe this has sort of affected how much how much drive and motivation I have to get up and get going in the morning. And it has made me think of, if I don't get because I've been thinking about getting, some workout equipment for inside the apartment, like a stationary bike, a rower. I looked at a step machine, but the home, like the small step machines are really small. I'm not sure if they're as effective as the larger ones, although I'm not entirely sure. I was also thinking about getting a walking pad, because if you get a walking pad, you could set up a standing desk, and while you're doing your steps, you could get other things done, which would be very nice, very productive. That means I wouldn't have to pre-plan what I'm going to do with the time that I'm outside, and I wouldn't lose that sort of the edge, the edges, like the front and the back side of the workouts, meaning that as I'm leaving, it just takes you a couple minutes just to get going, right? Or a couple minutes to come back in, settle in, get some more water, whatever it is. But if you had a walking desk, a walking platform, you set it up, you have your walking desk, your computer's up there, you go, right? Am I missing something? I don't know. So I was thinking about this. The other reason why is because the walking pads are easier to stow compared to a rowing machine and a stationary bike. Definitely compared to a stationary bike. But also, it's a lot easier to set up and everything. It's you can set it up in a matter of minutes, I guess, and you're able to keep on going, and you don't have to deal with the cold weather walking outside. So I could do my Chinese characters. I could study my Chinese characters while I'm walking inside, not freezing my hand off while walking outside. And you might wonder, why can't you just do the characters? Anyway, it's true, but there's a difference between being able to sit down and you sit down and doing the characters, or walking around and doing the characters. Because even if you only had 15 minutes, you could set it up very quickly, and it wouldn't, it would take you no time to set up, basically, as far as I understand. The other thing, cost. The walking pads are like, I think you get 1,500 renminbi, $300, maybe 2,000 renminbi, $400 Canadian. The stationary bike is probably double that. The rowing machine was about, well, it was new, it was 7,000. I've been looking for a used one. They're hard to sort of come by here in Beijing, but a used, even, was it a walking pad, a new walking pad by Huawei or Xiaomi, those would run you 15 to 2,000 renminbi, and you're pretty good to go. I know I think there's a Huawei rowing machine that's 1,500 or 2,000 renminbi, so $400. But I'm not sure just yet, and I'm not sure how like foldable that one is, or whether it's like just one long solid stick and you can't really move it anywhere. But why do I need this? I mean, yeah, it is going into winter. You could say man up, put your shoes on, go for a run. That's true, and I still would do that. Actually, most days of the week, it's the sort of the rest days where I would actually appreciate being able just to get up, do 10 minutes, 15 minutes walking, then do the mobility stuff, and then do another 10, 15 minutes walking while doing my Chinese characters. I'm not gonna, that sort of would have been looking at, not only with that, if I got like a stationary bike or a rowing machine, I can see how I would do sort of, what would you call it, split workouts. So you could row for a minute. You could do 100, then you can do like, I don't know, 25 kettlebell swings, and then you roll for another minute, or you cycle for a minute, hard. And so like it'd be the same as going outside and doing sprints, except if I did sprints outside, it'd be difficult to have, because I have to take the weight down with me, and going outside as it gets cold, with the kettlebell being cold, I mean, there's just, you're adding to, there's one thing about being, facing a discomfort of no motivation. There's another thing of like, my hands are frozen, now they're cracking, and there's no real reason for me to do this. Right? So, other than the fact that I just want to get it done, sort of thing. So, that's where I've sort of been thinking of lately, gauging how much I want to spend on this, and really how much space I have left in my apartment. It's getting to the point where I'm kind of thinking, if I don't start throwing things out, I'm not. It's just not that I have that much, right? I do have a lot of stuff for a studio apartment. Don't get me wrong. I could probably cut down quite a bit. I've mentioned this before. What would I get rid of? That's a very good question. It's something I'm struggling with, to tell you the truth. And not that all this stuff is important. It's just stuff that, if I'm here and there's no need to throw it out, do I need to be getting rid of it just yet? Right? Like books, clothes. There's not too much furniture. I don't buy too much furniture, so it's not big stuff. It's all this little stuff that sort of accumulates in the corners and stuff like that. To be honest, this box of Chinese flashcards I got over the summer, I'm kind of looking at it. I haven't touched that box. I've touched a few of the decks, but since I'm using my cell phone mostly for my vocab review, I'm finding that this box is just sitting here, and I'm not really doing anything with it. I guess I could put it away, but then it would just be being put away, and I wouldn't be using it. So I'm actually wondering if I might just get rid of it, to tell you the truth. Gift it on to the next person who could find a much better use for it, rather than just sitting here in my apartment. If not the whole thing, then at least part of it, so I could cut down on the amount of stuff that I have here. Anyway, have you ever seen the TV show My 600-Pound Life? So I saw this scrolling by Twitter the other day, and I was like, I've never heard of this show, but this sounds like something that I know some of my colleagues, current and former, would probably criticize as well. So I looked it up on YouTube, and sure enough, there's this TV show called My 600-Pound Life, and these people are large. They're huge. They are 600 pounds or more, and I mean, we're talking like these people are eating all the time, but I guess most importantly, a lot of these people, if they weren't not necessarily abused, but they had emotional issues, or they had issues from their childhood that never were really dealt with as they were growing up, and so they found solace in eating. And they don't eat, good food. I mean, they eat tasty food, don't get me wrong. I mean, all the fast food that you can sort of imagine. And so this documentary, and I'm not sure how many seasons or episodes there are. I watched one, I watched clips of another, and it all seemed to be sort of a very similar story. You know, they had issues when they were growing up with, you know, either they had health issues, or they were part of foster families, so they didn't have like a solid core family that took care of them, that it all sort of um, gave them any sort of reference for healthy eating or healthy lifestyles and stuff like that. Um, it's phenomenal that people can find solace in that much food, because we're talking like these are the type of people who would eat 3 pizzas and then have like buffalo wings and then dessert, and you know, chug back a liter of Coke at the same time, Coca-Cola. And I mean, I'm looking at the stuff that I'm eating. It was, I'm not going to lie, it was actually kind of sickening to see what they were eating. Not judging on them so much as I can't fathom eating that much. And I'm not going to lie, given the amount of work and the amount of time that I've spent getting my I call it a diet. It's not a diet. What I eat, getting down to what I eat these days and how much I eat, and I still look at some of the stuff I could probably trim down on or trim away, and how much I have to work out, that to sort of maintain and trim down my physique. I go, what would it take for me to go a 180 and become 600 pounds, 700 pounds? Like, could I fathom that happening? I want to say no, but at the same time, I don't know. Knock on wood or glass. What if I broke my leg? What if I got in a car accident? What if, you know, I'm walking down the street, I get, you know, sucker punched or something? It's just bizarre. Probably not going to ever happen, but you never know. These things happen to people, and I might be one of those people that it happens to. Hope again, that it doesn't happen to me, but or you or anybody that it doesn't happen much, if at all, anymore. That's something that would sort of knock me off from the hope, from the desire, from the motivation of being physically active, being relatively healthy in my eating. Although I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I still eat. I had pizza for dinner tonight. Again, because I was finishing up from Sunday. I bought a couple small pizzas, and we just eat them for a couple days. That way, I don't have to think about dinner. Don't have to think about it. Burgers on Saturday, a couple beers here and there. I'm not against it, but what would it take that it's like that's constantly what you're eating, and for lunch that I'm not eating a bowl of vegetables? What would it take for me to go, you know, just drop all of that, you know, the intermittent fasting, you know, working out twice a day? Even yesterday when I was doing my second work, I've been talking about this, so I'm not going to do 2 days anymore. I'm done. You know, I'm not going to, you know, I'm going to cut down. I'm going to cut down. That's what it is. And then Monday afternoon happens, and Wednesday afternoon happens, and I'm sitting there going, you know, what else do I do between like 2:30 and 5 o'clock? And I'll tell you, I've caught myself before. It's not always the most productive stuff, and that's where that sort of that 20-minute run comes in. That's the commute home, quote unquote, running home. I got to get home from work, right? So even if I don't go to work, I still, you know, have it in my mind that if I have that structure of going to and from work in the morning, that's the run. That's 20 minutes. That, you know, at least there's some exercise already. That's 40 minutes in a day if I do it, you know, 2, 3, 4 times a week. You tack on the workouts, the weight stuff as well. I mean, it's, you kind of wonder. Some people wonder, like, you know, when are you going to stop this? You know, are you still on that diet kick with eating vegetables? I go, well, what else would I have? Like, I don't know any other like, would I sit down and make an actual salad, like with chicken and feta cheese and oil? Then I'm going, that's taking up so much time. When I have other things I want to get done, especially if I have a day off where I'm not working, where I don't actually have to go to the office or deal with any clients. It's, you know, I'd rather be putting my time towards other things. For example, studying Chinese characters in lunchtime, or listening to the radio a little bit more, right? Yeah, if you have a chance, take a look. My 600-pound life. Um, yeah, I almost stopped eating. Well, because I was having my lunch at this time when I was watching this show. I'm just like, oh, I can't. It's almost sickening to see what they're eating, because it's not they're not just eating lots of food. They're eating your burgers and the pizzas from these fast food joints that are known to be serving less than good ingredients, although they might taste good. I mean, I don't know how often you can eat that stuff before you're like, you just don't feel good anymore. I think I tap out. I think there's, if I had 2 meals in a row at those places, or similar, like if I had a hamburger from one place and then, if I had pizza from another place and another time, that is sort of my maximum. After that, it's like I got to get back onto my regular eating habits, or else like I just feel like garbage. And same with alcohol. Like I can't. One day of drinking, that's enough. And then after that, it's days until the next. And if I do have anything else, it's like one. It just becomes sickening to think of uh, of the food intake. And I know, I mean, again, a lot of these people, you watch this show, and a lot of these people have these issues where they're dealing with their emotions. They're eating. They say this a lot. The only thing that made me feel good was eating. Um, yeah, what would it take to derail you from your diet, from your health plan, and would you let it happen? It's easy to say when you're healthy and strong, but imagine when you're lying down, you like the world has hit you with something. How much of the mental motivation, it doesn't even become strength anymore. It becomes in your mind. Can you think yourself to do it? I'm not gonna lie, I fight this too. That Monday I was fighting it. Like what if I just took this week off completely off? My back is hurting again. What? I mean, oh, it's getting cold outside. Well, I can't do it. I got to do laundry and this. You're fighting yourself. You're fighting yourself. The mental motivation. It scares me. It's not just the food that scares me. It's the mental blockade that can happen that literally scares me more than anything. That being said, how about a new workout? Hotshot 500. So turning the diet, going 180 on this one. My 600-pound life is all about eating too much and dealing with emotions through food. Hotshot 500, got this from the Buff Dudes guys on YouTube. It's an actual workout that the forest fire crews, they're called hotshots in the United States, and these guys are the ones that when there's a forest fire, they go towards it and they cut a fire break 6 meters wide or something like that. So there's a guy with a chainsaw, then there's another guy who throws the stuff away, and then the rest of the team starts picking away at the stuff, creating that sort of gap, that 6 meter gap. And apparently they have a workout called the Hotshot 500 that consists of a 6 mile hike. And during this 6 mile hike, which is elevated, by the way, you're supposed to be doing this up a mountain because that's where these firefighters work. During the 6 mile hike, you do 100 push-ups. You do 100 flutter kicks. You do 100 bent over rows, 50 barbell curls, 50 shoulder presses, 50 kettlebell swings, although that seems to be changing depending on which workout you look at, and 50 overhead squats. Now you're wait a minute, where are you getting the bent over rows from, or the curls, or the presses? Well, hell, you're supposed to take with you. The Buff Dudes did it with a 75-pound bag, but I think the Hotshot crew might do it with something a little like 40 pounds or something. I can't remember. But they basically, you go take a bunch of sandbags, put them on your back, because the idea is to mimic a firefighting situation wherein you are carrying your backpack, your water, your foodstuffs, any emergency supplies, your equipment, and stuff like that. So it's mimicking the amount of weight that you'd be carrying with you going through a fire, a fire situation, and you sort of wonder like, oh my God, that's a lot of weight. So I was thinking, how can I mimic this in the city of Beijing? I mean, good question, because I don't really know where I would get the hike. I don't know how and going up and down the stairs for 6 miles seems like a little bit much. Although, it's giving me an idea. Let's put it this way: you start at the bottom of your apartment. You go to the top, and then you go all the way down. Would you go all the way up and then do 100 push-ups, or go all the way up and all the way down, then do 100 push-ups, and then repeat that until you finished? Oh, that's a good question. Oof, that sounds tough. So, okay, let's put it this way. Most of these buildings are about 25 floors tall, give or take 4 or 5 floors, because the 4s and the 3s are never really counted. 13, 14, 24, floor 4 never counted. So you get 21 floors. You go up, you come down. 100 push-ups. You go up, you go down. 100 flutter kicks. Go up and go down. 100 bent over rows. You repeat that. So it'd be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 6 or 7 times you're walking up and down the flights of stairs in your apartment. Not only are your neighbors going to think you're crazy, and your stairwell is probably filthy, and this only works on the tall buildings, not so much on the hutong floors, but then you're also carrying a backpack full of weight. Oof. Good question. We'll see. Can I throw this? Where would I do this one? Would I do this, Wednesdays? Wednesday afternoons? Friday afternoons after I do the Murph in the morning? Insanity. All right. Well, I'm pushing time here, but I got one last thing here for you. The difference of water supplies. If you've never checked this before, for those of you living in Beijing, in China, Nongfu Chuan Shui, so there's Nongfu spring water. No doubt you've had it before. It's the red and white bottle. There's a difference in where they get their water from. If you buy the big 12-liter bottles, the ones that go on top of the water dispenser machines, that one actually comes from a place called Chengde, Ling Shan. Now, this is different from the little bottles, the 5 liters or less, which apparently come from Chong Bai Shan. And those are not only cheaper, but apparently, 比较, relatively speaking, the big Nongfu Shui bottles, the big 12-liter bottles from Chengde, aren't as good quality as the little bottles from Chong Bai Shan. I don't know. Yeah, I mean, have you tried the difference? I remember one lady telling me that Bao Shui, the Sebon Shui, the Sebon water, the green bottle, that one was sort of the best. For whatever reason, I'm not entirely sure, and I'm sure there's a difference between distilled, purified, natural, distilled, natural, blah blah blah. Like I haven't checked any. It's all so confusing. You know what? Honestly, as long as it's not tap water, I'm not sure how many heavy elements are still going through this water or whatever pollutants. But I know that even Dasani, which is produced by Pepsi, was criticized years ago for just using tap water. I think in one of the European markets or something like that, they were just using the same sort of runoff that goes into tap water in the city, and they were just bottling it and selling it. I'm not sure if it was in the same market or somewhere else. But there you go. Check on the labels. You'll see it. It's there. I verified it with my own Chinese studies and characters. And my girlfriend told me about this, although I didn't believe her at first. Turns out she's actually right. She found out because she talked to the store, and this is something that I don't think they could communicate to me properly. So when she asked about why the price difference of the big bottles and the small bottles, one of the reasons is because the big bottles are from Chengde, Wulingshan, which is apparently an inferior water supply compared to Chong Bai Shan, which is your little bottles, your 5-liter bottles or less. There you go. Something to think about. All right, folks, I'm going to leave it there. Thanks for listening. I appreciate it. Show notes, tracks, and vids up on my website, stevenstursky.com. And, of course, if you can, subscribe on all the socials and the channels that you can find out there. So, Spotify, Anchor.fm. I'm on Google Podcasts, even Apple Podcasts as well for this one. And if you haven't checked out yet, go to my website. My big cast just published episode number 32 with Omar Badre. And that, too, is going to be soon on Spotify and all the other podcast networks out there. All right, thanks again. We will talk again. Have a good one. Bye-bye.